Welcome to 2016 Presidential Candidate Interviews. Today I am interviewing Anthony Pericolo. He's running as a Republican. Hello and welcome to the interview.
Hi.
How are you doing this evening?
Awesome, and you? I'm looking forward to this interview.
Well, good. Well, let's give the listeners a chance to get to know you. I'm going to ask you some getting to know you icebreaker questions. Describe your family.
Well, I live at home with my family who are helping me support my campaign. They're fantastic. They're very supportive and caring and loving. I'm an only child, but I have many cousins and friends, so I'm always surrounded by people and great experiences. I have not had the opportunity to get married yet, so maybe in the White House I'll be the first president to get married. I live in Westfield, New Jersey. It's a wonderful town with great people and many activities for people of all ages. It's a wonderful community, and everyone should be able to live in Westfield.
Describe your employment and work experience.
Currently, I'm a full-time student. I've contributed to many local campaigns, both volunteering and paid, and I figured that it was time to get my message out there, along with my expertise, on the national level. I manage the young Republicans in my town, so I connect with young voters. I'm a tutor, and I'm dedicated to helping to educate others as well.
What are your hobbies and interests?
I love to read, write, learn about politics, or just learn in general, debate, watch movies, and if I have time, play video games. I take any opportunity to challenge myself. My favorite video games are The Last of Us and Red Faction Guerrilla. My favorite books are Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, Coolidge by Andy Slade, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and as a math geek, A Numeracy by John Allen Palos. Atlas Shrugged is one of the most motivating and interesting books of all time. It provides great commentary on the American society, too. Of all these books, it is a must-read. I've read it once, and I want to read it again to experience its beautiful language and descriptions. I plan to read through it again, but I love rereading my favorite parts as I'm waiting.
What are your favorite places to eat out?
I love Chipotle for lunch. I get soft tacos with rice, shredded beef, lettuce, and cheese. I like Five Guys for a good old-fashioned American bacon cheeseburger. For lunch, also, I go to Panera's. I get a soup, chicken noodle soup, and a Caesar salad. For dinner, I go to Carrabba's, which I get steak and mashed potatoes and a salad as well. And for desserts, we have a nice little bakery in our town known as Vivella's, and they have wonderful pastries.
Do you have a favorite fast food joint?
I'm not a big fan of fast food, but I do love Burger King's onion rings and Taco Bell's tacos.
Okay.
Every once in a blue moon.
Favorite junk food?
I love salt and vinegar potato chips, chocolate chip cookies and milk, and ice cream.
Favorite TV shows and movies?
My favorite TV show of all time is Game of Thrones. It's politics itself in the Middle Ages. It has complex characters and an edge-of-your-seat story. My favorite characters are Daenerys Targaryen and Tyrion Lannister. They're the strongest characters who could do the most good. I hope to govern with their inherent kindness and coupled with their strength as leader of the United States. I also watch The Walking Dead. It's an interesting watch, and it's the best movie zombie drama on television. Also, for my news, I go to Fox News, and also it's very entertaining to watch. I love Waters' World. So as for movies, I love Saving Private Ryan. It has an emotional story. It's tense and realistic. The Shawshank Redemption is also a beautiful movie with an emotional story. Recently, Mad Max Fury Road came out, and it has a heart-wrenching action and blood-pumping adrenaline. And lastly, I love The Sixth Sense, and without spoiling anything, I never saw the end coming.
Do you have any pets?
Not currently, but I had a bird. I love birds. They're my favorite animal.
And the final icebreaker question. Name a song that you consider your life motto, maybe an anthem, a life anthem, something that describes you.
I would say Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers Won't Back Down. It's really the theme of my campaign and the theme of my person, resilience, persistence. Also, as a song, it's beautifully written in its simplicity. It's only a few minutes long, and every second counts. Music has now been devoted to songs about drugs and suggestive themes, and few songs now have meaning to them. And few songs out there can pick you up from a bad day or lift you up to an even higher mood on good ones like Won't Back Down.
Okay, now on to the substantive questions. This is pretty much the most obvious one. Why are you running for president?
I'm running for president because I believe my views are different than those of other candidates. I know there are 17 other Republicans who have declared. Now the number's been smaller, but I'm special. I'm disheartened by the American dream. It is not declining because it's become impossible. It is very much possible. It is declining because people refuse to put effort into achieving it. We are becoming a nation that expects the American dream to come out in the form of a government handout. In the process, we are punishing others' success. Some of us expect the government and society to take care of ourselves, when in reality, only we are in control of our own destinies, and only we face the consequences of our own actions. With government growing out of control, people lose sight of themselves and what they want, and in the process, substitute individual rights for the public's good. We need balance, order, and justice in this nation again, and I will provide that with my vaulting ambition and commitment to my conservative policies. I will balance to a budget that sees no end, bring order and social unrest that has been terrorizing Americans, and bring justice to criminals who have faced impunity under the Obama administration. We are in a crucial time in this country, one that needs fresh ideas and conservative values and new leadership. Who else is better than me?
What abilities do you bring to the office of president?
Economically, I'm extremely frugal. I will not be ostentatious, as I recognize that the people would pay for my vacation, are the taxpayers themselves. Furthermore, I will sit down with every item in the budget, determine what is superfluous, and I will cut it. I want to see a lot of red pen and subtraction symbols on that piece of paper. I know how to manage money, and I know that you cannot spend more than you take in. Socially, I'm aware of the American people. Being an outsider in politics, I'm someone who's been among the American people my whole life. I know their complaints. I know their hardships. I've sat down with them. I've reasoned with them, and I've helped them. I hope to continue that in office. I'm a fantastic listener, and I want to help people. Politically, I'm strong. I'm unyielding on issues that I know must be changed to benefit the American people. On issues with the gray area, I'm willing to compromise. I know that compromise does not involve agreeing to put different things into one bill. You'll never see me signing something with a single-payer health care system in it. Rather, I will sit down with people, even those of opposite parties, and talk to them and find out what areas of thought we share. Even the most radical Republican can agree with the leftmost Democrat about something. Once we agree on something, then we could create new plans to address these age-old issues. And personally, I'm hardworking. I will give the job of the presidency my all, and I'll enjoy every moment of it because it will truly be a dream of mine sitting in that Oval Office.
Name a president or two that you have a positive opinion of whom you would like to emulate as president.
First and foremost, I would emulate Ronald Reagan. He's the greatest president of the 20th century. First of all, he escalated the war on drugs. He recognized that drugs are harmful to the individual and society, and he took a strong stance against it. Just Say No became his war slogan, while he publicized the negative effects of crack cocaine and other drugs. His campaign founded the DARE education program, which is implemented in schools to educate youth on the dangers of drugs. Drugs became a national policy after his presidency, and he worked to stop drug trafficking by mobilizing against them. He destroyed billions of dollars worth of illegal substances. He passed legislation like the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1986, which created mandatory penalties for drug offenses, and fueled millions, over $200 million, into drug education and over $241 million in drug rehabilitation. Secondly, major cutbacks on welfare were key theme of his presidency. He aimed to give Americans the ability to live welfare-free and free from the dependence of government. Federal assistance was cut over 60% of the course of his presidency. Federal aid for cities dropped from 22% to 6%. $17.5 billion was removed from low-income housing subsidies. The only way out of poverty is to be welfare-free, and he recognized that. Cuts were made on pollution, $12.7 billion, and down to about $427 million. He opposed abortion outright and recognized the need to protect human life. He opposed socialized health care on the point that it is socialist ideology, and we are democratic. He was pro-capital punishment, 100% death penalty. He approved the construction of prisons to punish crimes, particularly following the minimum penalty requirement for his drug law. Even though incarceration grew significantly, he lived in America that punished criminals and protected the good American citizen. And as his personal style, he was energetic, positive, friendly, sagacious, funny, and a paradigm for the American people. The 80s were just a prosperous time. Another president I would also love to emulate is Coolidge. He was also Reagan's favorite. He did not care for re-election. He only cared about serving the American people. Today, with politicians so caught up in their campaigns, we could learn something from Coolidge. He took a strong stance against the police strike. He said that it is not a strike, it is a desertion. He recognized people's needs to work. He was always terse and to the point. The few words he said had meaning, and he meant what he said, and other people knew that he meant what he said. He was uncompromising, unless it was related to his belief. He shrunk the influence of the government a lot. The country was awash in debt left over from the First World War. Unemployment was high. The new administration responded with austerity. He took steps to pay off that debt by living frugally as a president and expecting others in the government to govern frugally. He was committed to his $3 billion budget mark for balancing the budget. Even though it was impossible for him to achieve, he came pretty close to achieving his goal. He cut taxes, realizing that people paid a disproportionate rate of taxes. Passing the Mellon Cut was extremely difficult, but he never gave up with his vision, and it ended up being passed. I respect that persistency in an executive. Most executives find new ways to gain more power, but he was idle on many issues, like disaster relief. Even though I disagree with him on disaster relief, he was promoting that kind of vision for America, one of personal responsibility and accountability and states' rights. The executive does not need to be all-powerful to make this statement. And personally, he's someone who rose from rags to riches. My family came from Italy and were farmers, and so were his family. But he was not an immigrant. Both of us demonstrate that merit comes from hard work, and hard work is rewarded in America.
Describe your stance on taxation.
I believe that taxation punishes success, and we need to cut back on taxation. But there are some taxes that do need to be increased. For example, excise taxes on alcohol and excise taxes on cigarettes should be increased. They're illicit substances, and we need to discourage their use. Also, we should abolish this tax system that we have. Our tax code is over 70,000 pages with too many loopholes that prevent people from paying taxes. And we should just cut it down to a simple sentence. Everyone has to pay 12.5% of his or her income to the federal government in order to get services like roads. Because we as a nation are punishing people for becoming successful. While you're not taxed more on all your dollars by moving up to a higher tax bracket, it decentivizes moving up in society.
Describe your stance on the abortion pro-choice issue.
I am extremely pro-life. I feel abortion is abominable. It is something that we as a society need to reflect upon and think, is this the character of our nation? Half of pregnancies among American women are unintended. That is irresponsibility on both parents' part. Unmarried women accounted for 85.5% of all abortions. And women living with a partner to whom they were not married account for 25% of all abortions, but only about 10% of the American population. That is a disgrace. Moreover, I believe that abortion is causing a genocide among black people today. Planned Parenthood targets the black population. Margaret Sanger was vehemently racist, and she was the founder of Planned Parenthood. And Planned Parenthood operates in inner cities today, where a higher proportion of black people live today. And we are supporting this egregious act with our tax dollars by funding Planned Parenthood.
What role should the military play in the world?
First and foremost, the military should protect America. It's our military, and we should use it to defend our freedom. Also, we have a big military budget, one which I will probably increase, but one that we also need to focus on veteran aid, because 529,000 and 840,000 veterans are homeless at some time during the year. On any given night, more than 300,000 veterans are living on our streets or shelters in the U.S. These are people who gave up their time. They lived away from their families. They suffered on the battlefield to care for us and defend our freedom, yet they are dying here in America. The primary causes of homelessness among veterans are lack of income due to education and lack of transferable skills from the military, combat-related physical and mental health, weak social networks due to problems adjusting to civilian life from military life, and substance abuse problems caused from PTSD. In short, we need to generously support those who support us and make joining the military an opportunity, not a law. And an increase in military budget would also be for this purpose, in addition for our own cybersecurity in this nation. And we also need to invest in military education, because many people who are poor use the military as an opportunity to get an education and serve this country for giving them a free education. And the military is one of the best ways to invest in STEM education and computer education, because we are behind on cybersecurity in this nation.
Some people think there's a conflict of interest between maintaining personal liberties and gathering intelligence to fight terror. How would you deal with that balance, and do you think there is a conflict of interest?
I do think there is a conflict of interest, because as Ben Franklin said, any society that gives up a little liberty to gain a little security will deserve neither and lose both. I will abolish the NSA. I will track suspected terrorists, but only through a warrant. The Constitution is very clear on this matter, and I will uphold the Constitution as president. Consequently, I believe that we need to be strong on terrorism. I will name the threat radical jihadist Islam, and I will target those people in the Middle East. I believe that we should not give terrorists constitutional rights, because we are giving them a glance of our great American system, one that they have fought so hard to destroy. We need to protect the American people with our military abroad, but we need to respect the American citizens' rights here on American soil.
What role does faith, religion, spirituality, etc. play in your life, and what type of role would it play for you as president?
Personally, I pray regularly. I humble myself before God. Sometimes we all need to have a little faith. God gives us all strength and gives me a lot of strength. If you have no one to talk to in your life, talk to God. He will listen to you, and you will see that your life improves. Religion has taught me that people are inherently good, but they need to reflect upon their own actions and ask for forgiveness when they do wrong. And I, being someone religious, will fight my hardest to defend the liberties, the religious liberties of the American people. For example, take the gay marriage decision. I was taught to respect everyone, and their choice of partner does not reflect their person. And that decision, applying MLK's quote, when can we judge based on the content of character rather than choice of partner? However, I am against gay marriage. The religious rights of the majority of Americans should not be violated to promote equality. That is the farthest thing from equality. Marriage is a religious term, and the government has no power to redefine it. We should take all mentions of marriage out of the government for gay and straight couples, and should have the government only issue civil unions. That way, there's no violation of rights of the people and equality in the government, and we would not have issues like people like Kim Davis, who do not want to issue gay civil union licenses. The Supreme Court went above the heads of the states by legalizing gay marriage. Albeit some bad, though, I can admit there was some good to that decision. All people can enjoy the economic and social benefits of having their love recognized by the government.
What are your weaknesses? Everybody has things they're good at and not so good at. What are some of the things you're not so good at, and what would you do to compensate for them?
First and foremost, I am definitely unknown. That means that I'm unknown to foreign leaders as well, who will need to negotiate treaties with me and who will need to work with me to make the world a better place. Also, being a political outsider, I lack political experience. I've worked with many campaigns, and I'm very informed about politics, but I've not yet held elected office. Winning the presidency, though, is on-the-job training for anyone, whether the most novice politician or the most experienced one. I will never stop learning, so I will learn from every action I make or every action that is taken to slow me down. I will appoint the greatest minds in my presidential cabinet. I will appoint an experienced vice presidential nominee, one who's worked in these affairs, and one who would work closely with me, and one with whom I will get along. So I will make sure that my weaknesses will not get in the way of my serving of the American people.
Okay, time for some closing remarks. In 2 minutes or less, tell us why we should vote for you.
Okay. To paraphrase the words of Ayn Rand, the only way to be for the public good is to be for the individual. The individual is the smallest minority. Those who do not defend individual rights can neither claim to be the defender of minorities nor a holder of the public good. Who could forget that by nature contradictions cannot exist? If you find yourself in the presence of someone who claims to eradicate poverty for the public good while taking from those who work hard to stay out of poverty, check your premises. One of them is wrong. I do not denounce the greatest country in the world, but I cannot speak ignoring the great perils facing our nation in the 2016 election. I just ask that you examine your premises and realize that the world that I presented to you is the America that you've always imagined. Listening to this interview is part of a fight, but getting to the polls is the other half. It is time that we elect a plainclothes politician in an office. It is time that we elect someone with the character and bravery necessary to keep America the greatest country in the world. It is time we elect someone who sees the office of the presidency as a job that serves the people rather than his own political agenda. And when you choose to vote for me, Anthony Pericolo, you are making a statement. You are saying to this great nation that you protect individual rights and, as a result, protect the founding values of America. When you show your support at the ballot, you are letting Americans know that you value hard work and consequently reward success. When you write in my name, you are letting others know that they cannot take away from you the America in which you desire to live. That America is real, is possible, and yours. I can help build that America, but only you can elect to have it. Thank you.
Thank you for participating in the interview. Thanks again to my listeners for listening. Be sure to check back in the future for more interviews. Have a good day, and remember to keep informed and keep involved. Thanks again for the interview.